Good morning, fellow zombies. Are we alive yet? Are we awake yet? Because I sure as hell ain't. I'm still getting there. 7 o'clock in the morning, West Coast time. It is the 7th of May, Thursday, 2026. A diary of a griever named John Weaver, which is me. Roseman, California. Okay, enough of that shit. So, how would you like to be in a town where you got used to troops all the time? These guys would come and go. These guys would be part of your lives, more ways than one. But then you got their commander in chief who throws a hissy fit and decides that the troops are going to be leaving because of actions he's done somewhere, and he's ticked off at certain countries that didn't give him fealty, didn't give him love or loyalty, or something that he requires. Feed his ego. At this point, he's telling you that, okay, I'm pulling out my troops and I'm taking them with me because I'm going to need them for something. Every single one of them. He's doing that. And in the meantime, our gas bag in office is changing structures around that we used to take for granted, and we used to have mutual alliances, agreements, relationships. He's broken that because he is acting as the petulant, immature 2-year-old or 3-year-old. What they say, the terrible twos or terrible fours. He's just terrible, period. He wants, he wants, he wants. And he can't stop. He still can't be mature enough to admit he's totally screwed up with the Iran situation. That he screwed around with the rest of the world. He doesn't want to play ball. He wants to play chaos and confusion. He wants to give everybody else hell in a handbasket because he's Donald Trump. His ego knows no bound. And we voted the bastard in, and he's doing everything he can by manipulating the politicians in every damn red state out here in the United States to gerrymander, jerry rig, and just plain out cheat in the next elections, in the upcoming midterms, actually. He's stacking and packing people to where things are going to be running his way. But getting back to a small town in Germany, it's just one of the many things that he's been affecting left and right. Now, I'm going to use a compare and contrast at this point. We had budgetary problems back in the late 80s through the 90s. And in the Clinton administration, we had the base realignment commissions. They would have to check every base in every state whether or not it was going to be fiscally feasible to merge military units with each other or keep them as is. And if they were going to be merging, that means the unit has to move out of a territory to the new area. The old territory would be affected a great deal. The senators would have they would have their own battle on this one in the commissions, in the subcommittees, everywhere, holding on to what assets the military produced and created. There are towns then and now affected by the changes of military moving in and out of areas. I was part of that. Not of the commission. Not of the commission. However, I was part of the after effect of the base realignment commissions that they had. And they would decommission places as the military unit would move from area to area. In my little situation, I was living in the San Fernando Valley, California. At times, I take people to go to Google Maps so I can discuss this in a little bit more detail. Come with me. I want you to go to Maps of the Google or whatever you're using for an app for that. So I'm going over to Google Maps right now. The default is situated to where my home is, in the Antelope Valley, right next to Edwards Air Force Base. However, that's not where I want to go. I'm going to go over to the San Fernando Valley. Okay? But I am not going to do sometimes the usual stuff like in Mouse School. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm going to type in one area of the valley. I'm going to type in Van Nuys Airport. I'm typing it into the search engine, and it shows me a little bit of the area. Close up to where you've got all those private jets out there. But if I happen to widen this shot, north is on the top, south is on the bottom. So I have this strip going through the San Fernando Valley. When you look at it, it's been about maybe 1 or 2 years since the photography, or maybe earlier this year, to where there's been a lot of changes. The building structures that they would have right next on the west side of the valley, of the airport actually, they used to have Quonset huts, they used to have cement buildings, they used to have hangars that don't look like this. They would house the National Guard. Because there was controversy throughout the years when the valley was developing into its into this mega suburban territory, they had clashes with the military over there regarding noise all the time, and parking and whatever kind of little things that they drove people crazy with. We used to have every year in the summertime air shows. We would have Air National Guard, we would have the Navy coming in, we would have the Army, the Marines. It would be the four branches. I hadn't seen too much of the Coast Guard, but I think the Coasties were there too. And for about, what was it, 20, 30, 40 years, they would have the air shows. But they stopped it in the 90s. So much crap has happened that, and maybe it was part of the Base Realignment Commission, that they had to move the two squadrons that they had, a communication and a transport. They moved them over to Ventura County, where they remain to this day. And that decreased, well, hopefully increased civilian air over here, and they're still struggling as well, but they got other businesses moving in. And throughout the decades, they took out the military housing structures, building structures, and put in their own stuff. They took out what made the area unique. They increased uniqueness, well, they think it is, in Ventura County. Um, they had bases out there, naval base and Air National Guard with Marine base over there. Now, getting back to the Antelope Valley, this I will do the mouse scroll on it. I'll look at the wedge, and then I will move my mouse over to the white sands of Edwards Air Force Base and Rosamond, California. But I'm going to look at it from afar. Edwards liked San Fernando Valley when they had a base over there, were training bases. World War II, before World War II, it was just Muroc base out there, and they were still dealing with the technology of World War I and developing planes. But in the San Fernando Valley, it was also general aviation. Ever since the invention of the airplane, people have been flying and dying, but dying to get into the sky and then dying when they're on the ground. But it was still a golden time, or beginning times for the aviation, and built the fastest planes they could and speed raced. From what some of the stories I heard about. And they had agriculture out there in San Fernando Valley. It's all urbanized now. If there's any agriculture, you're lucky. If not, well, it's all gone. But I hear when we actually had World War II happening, this was a training base. And they trained pilots. And they started developing more and more experimental craft. Muroc turned into Edwards Air Force Base, into a testing range. The community next to it, Rosamond, grew out of the community that they had formed outside of Muroc Base when it was still there. So Rosamond grew up right next to Edwards, and we depended upon Edwards. We still do to this day. We have base personnel shopping, living, going to work. Transfer here and transfer there, but we still depend upon Edwards. Put myself into a situation regarding Germany now. With the NATO situation happening, NATO not liking Trump and his actions, and the choices we made, unfortunately, we have put ourselves into a delicate situation internationally. It's not just Germany, but it's the rest of the Europe countries that are slowly denying access to U.S. personnel to land for emergencies or for any other kind of reasons other than commercial airlines. We've used up our street creds. In the towns where you had the military presence in there, but then you remove them, it takes away commercial. It takes away business. It takes away tourism of sorts. Residents. It changes dynamics around when you had bases closing. They were talking and arguing about this in the United States in the 90s when we actually had a stable government. We have an unstable lunatic who just doesn't get it, doesn't want to get it. But he wants people to follow him on a constant basis. He wants them to be loyal to him because he's the most insecure elected official I have ever seen in office. He has lived on the con all his life. He was taught by his previous generations. They all did it. They all taught the same damn shit. How to con people, how to fool people, how to live on the con, and then move off. But Trump is stuck in the biggest con of his life, the presidency of the United States, and he loved the power so much. He is gathering more and more of it to be the most biggest pain in the ass you've ever seen in your life. And his effects on the people he drew in is affecting the rest of the world. There's a story happening right now on MS Now. Marco Rubio is promoting the same crap Trump is, and he's going after the Pope again. Pope Leo is dealing with the United States insanity at this point. I don't know how to apologize to his Holy Father in this one, except to say, I'm sorry, Holy Father, but unfortunately, we got a guy, we want to get rid of him. We can't because our Congress is too inept. They're too chicken. In the situations regarding Trump, he wants to push his art of the deal. His form of intimidation is you see the smaller guy, you beat the crap out of him, and then you try to get stuff out of the guy. That's basically how it is. It's bully. He's always been known how to do a bully. And the rest of his family does the same thing. Lie, cheat, and steal. Con their way. Grift as much as they can. We are fighting so hard for... What are we fighting for, I wonder? I mean, why are we doing this? I don't get it. With all the trade disruptions we have gotten and changing our landscape, changing our policies regarding the landscapes, we have mutilated the dynamics of the United States of America. Not just the ideal or ideology that we have. The landscape in itself, to the point where we're not having food. We're sucking up resources to make these edifices of electronics to theoretically make people better, or does it make the shareholders of these companies richer? Artificial intelligence, it was supposed to help us. How? My question, how? All I would hear is word salad out of these guys. I'm looking at this shit. I'm thinking cyberpunk is here to stay. I'm thinking that whatever we keep dabbling in this kind of weird ass technologies, it's going to bury our ass alive. Because we want product, we want profit, money. At least those are really gritty enough anyway, and we're getting ourselves screwed over. We're getting ourselves screwed over, and we can't get out of this. We cannot get out of this. And right now with Iran, Trump wants to do the bully act again. He thinks he's got Iran in a chokehold. He's telling Iran, give me what I want or else. Iran is saying, no. Trump's looking at NATO saying, you guys don't help us out enough. You guys don't help us. You're weak. Yeah, well, guys, I could continue my ranting and raving right now, but I got a dog that needs my attention. So we will pick this up later. That being said,